Alton Glass. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, man? Appreciate being on and connecting with you again.
Man, thank you so much for your time, man. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for, rocking with me in this passion project called Panic and Patience. So this podcast is really a platform for who I believe are people who are leaders in their community, change agents, and those who want to make a difference in a positive way. And I see you as a leader, and I look up to you in a lot of different ways, especially creatively. And I feel like a lot of us who want to make change really are dancing on this line or in conflict of these two things. One being panic, the sense of urgency, the sense that things need to change, policies need to shift, stories need to be told, but also understanding, particularly as Black people, that, anything of significance takes time. And sometimes our efforts, we may not see, the fruits of our labor in our lifetime. And we have to be, and there's a part of us that has to be okay with that. And there's power and resilience in putting effort towards something that you may not benefit from. And so I'm so excited to talk to you about kind of your journey and what you're doing in the community for the Black community. And how I like to start my podcast is really serves as an icebreaker. I just want to hear a story from you. It can be about anything, but tell me a story.
Ooh, man, I got a lot of them. I would say, okay, here we go. So this is sort of tied into my journey that we'll probably talk about later as it relates to immersive tech, immersive storytelling. But I remember when I was directing, you have to forgive me, my daughter is here. We doing our COVID, lockdown.
No worries.
But I remember when I was, directing films, feature films, and I started directing television movies. And there were some other things that I really, really wanted to do. And I remember taking this manager I was working with to check out this VR company who was doing all this cool VR stuff. And he was like, man, this is really great. It's great that you're really into this stuff right now. And then we were like, okay, now let's make some rounds because I want to get out and start doing some bigger movies and all this other stuff. So we went around, did the tour with the agencies and the networks for to expand on doing more projects. He was like, well, a lot of companies really want you to do more TV movies. He was like, but there's so much more to what you can do than that. And I was like, all right. So I was like, I took one more TV movie. And he was like, but I got to tell you, if you take this next TV movie, I'm going to have to drop you. I said, what you mean you're going to drop me? Like, we making money, we working? He was like, you got so much more you could do, right? And if you do one more, that's just going to be the extent of your body of work, right? Because that'll be like your third, like in a row, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, well, let me just still knock this one out and then we can regroup. Mm-hmm. He was like, nah, I'm telling you, this is it. He said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that we're ending our relationship and I'll no longer be your manager because I want you to take what I told you seriously and move into VR. Mm-hmm. I did the movie, got dropped. When I wrapped the movie, I was like, damn, where do I go from here?
Right.
And it really rocked me, because I'm like, man, all this opportunity, I'm ready to grow. And I was forced into an uncomfortable place, right? Mm-hmm. And when I got into VR and I decided to take it serious, there was no industry. There was no way for me to make money to supplement that income. You know what I mean? Those residuals. You know what I mean? All the stuff that you kind of get comfortable with as a businessman or as a storyteller. And I never forget having to sit down and start from ground zero all over again. And I said, well, you know what? Let me try it. And I had to become a PA pretty much on someone's virtual reality production set, just to get in and learn. So, here I am, in my 30s, having a career as a filmmaker, director, and working, and I had to start over to see if this is something that I should really take serious. And I did it. I started over. And I spent the next 2 years reinvesting in this new unknown, right, of what immersive could be. And what kept me fueled was when I went to an expo, a virtual reality expo, and I didn't see many African Americans at all. And I was like, wow. And I started doing research on the types of investments that were being put into this new industry. And I said, you know what? I guess I can't go back to my comfort zone. There is work that needs to be done here. And I need to investigate the opportunities that could be here. And I spent the next 2 years pretty much going broke, to the point where I had to go like borrow money and then reinvest into this new space, mortgage in my crib. And over time, I started to get my hands on it. And I decided to invest in my first virtual reality piece called A Little Love. And that's the project that American Black Film Festival gave me an opportunity to showcase down in American Black Film Festival in conjunction with CNN, VR. And that project and that journey opened up so many doors. I got my first technology award from Black Enterprise and Accenture, connected with CNN and Verizon, all these companies. And then I started really opening up new doors and learning new things and how I could transition my storytelling. And eventually it became a business, and all that debt went away. Opportunities continued to come, and I just kept creating, you know what I mean? And I think for me, it was just really understanding that those uncomfortable places is where you stretch. I mean, look at you. I mean, I know you're in the gym every day, but you got to tear those muscles down, right?
Yeah.
To build them back up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we have to do as creators and entrepreneurs and storytellers and fathers. You know what I mean? We go through these things and we have to get out of our comfort zone. We got to work the muscles. We got to really get out there and push ourselves. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful for the support system that I had, but it was a rough 2 years.
Yeah.
But it was all worth it. And now I am in a place, I'm extremely thankful for the opportunities that have been created as a result of being forced into that direction. So that manager, I ain't gonna say his name, I thanked him for cutting ties and saying, hey man, I see this, I'm gonna let you go and I don't wanna give you no option. He saw something that I didn't see. You see what I mean?
That was a blessing in disguise.
And I had to dig in deep and go find it again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I first started as a filmmaker, you know, when you get on your first set and you're like, oh, I want to be a director, I want to write. Mm-hmm. There's something burning inside where you don't see the limitations, right? You just see where you want to go. And I had to get back to that, staying focused on the intention and where I wanted to go. And you start to attract all of the pieces. Mm. All of the pieces start to fall in place. And that's what happened. And now I lean into discomfort now. You know what I mean? I lean into the unknown. Mm-hmm. I play in the unknown. I experiment. I R&D in the unknown. Because going back to what you said, for me, I'm planting seeds that I may not see grow, but it's for the next generation. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
This is a space that's kind of like the Lumiere brothers when they first had the first, 60-second film camera, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And 100 years later, you see burgeoning Hollywood industry, right?
Right.
I've been able to show how you can leverage immersive storytelling for creative entrepreneurship and creating opportunities for yourself as a storyteller. So it was worth the journey, man. Get my ass kicked, for a couple of years. And we still getting our ass kicked because it's constantly changing and shifting, but I enjoy it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because where you talk about like how you had to start over and had to become a PA on a set and kind of like humble yourself in order to get to where you are right now. And what's interesting about that is how we met. I'm not sure if you remember, but I was a junior in my undergrad. I was in film school and I was doing my internship in LA. And a mutual friend of ours, Ray Stoney, came, and when I was doing my internship, he was like, "Hey, I want you to come with me to this film festival." And a friend of mine is screening his film. He's a director. I think you'll like him. He's super cool, and I want you to meet him because I know you want to get into directing. And that film was Mansfield 12. So we go to the screening, and you had a million things going on. So me and you didn't actually get a chance to talk, but Ray was like, "Hey, he hoops, and we hoop at this gym not too far from here." And he was like, and you asked me, you were like, "Can you hoop?" I'm like, "I'm all right." And you were like, "All right, cool. Well, we gonna hoop, and I'll rap with you then." Fast forward, we end up playing ball, we hoop. And after that, you asked me, you said, "Well, what are you in LA for?" I'm like, "Well, I'm doing my internship. I really want to be a director. I want to be a music video director. That's really, I want to be like Hype Williams, Chris Robinson, and all this thing." And you were like, "You sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You were like, "Okay." And you literally walked away from me, went to the corner, you called somebody or text somebody, and you were like, "This person is gonna email you in a few days. Um, so you can be a production assistant on set and for this music video." When I said music video director, now I don't know the project, but it's an opportunity for you. Just make sure that you're on time and you got your stuff together. So I'm super hyped, and I'm like, "Oh, who is this? Who is this?" So the assistant emails me, and long story short, it was Jesse Terrero. And you put me in position to get my first opportunity as a production assistant. And then that turned into my first music video set. And my first production assistant opportunity was on a set of Babyface's video.
Nice.
And I will never forget that. And you were the person to put that all together. And to this day, I always remember that, because you never know how you're going to enter the game, and you never know who could look out for you, and you never know what opportunities lie ahead. And the fact that you took the time out and not even really knowing me, but giving me believing that I did want to do that. I did want to pursue a career in directing, pursue a career in film. And I just really appreciated that. Even years later, you doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. But to me, that's what's important about bearing the fruit of this work, because I believe that you did that to me because somebody did that to you when you first started, and I think that comes along with building community, and that comes along with passing a baton, because you knew that people like yourself and people like me, all you need is a chance, and once you get a chance, the sky's the limit. So I don't know if you remember that, but that was definitely a special moment for me, because I came back from my internship feeling like, I wasn't in it by myself. I saw somebody that looked like me, that was doing what I wanted to do, and still reached back and gave me an opportunity without actually even knowing me. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate that, and I thank you, even though it's probably almost 15 years now.
Man, I feel old. Man, that's beautiful. I mean, I remember us balling. I remember just trying to pay for the opportunity that were afforded to me, because that similar story you gave me, how we connected and how you moved into set, was the same that a young man did for me, named Dre. I was in Atlanta, and I was a PA, and I was like, "Hey man, I just shot my first music video, man. I'd love to show it to you." And he was like, "Man, I'm gonna introduce you to Jesse Terrero." He took me to Jesse's set, Said, Jesse, I need you to meet this guy, man, young filmmaker. Jesse popped the video in, had this big ass VHS, right? He watched the video, was like, okay. He was like, let's connect, man. And when I moved to LA, he scooped me up from school. I was going to college. He's like, hey man, I want to introduce you to Chris and my team. And we're gonna bring you on. You start writing treatments, man. And we help, get you room and get you right. He opened up a great door for me. You know what I'm saying? He showed me love. Dre put me in position. So I feel like, we continue to do the same thing. So, I mean, that's awesome to see. Remember that it wasn't necessarily, we just do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We just do it,
So what, you talked about immersive technology and virtual reality. Like, what was it about the space that was so intriguing to you? Because it seemed like, it was a red ocean, right? There wasn't many people that looked like us in that space, and that space wasn't fully mature yet. It was still growing. Technology was still sort of developing. What made you want to explore that and get away from something that was already moving, was already making you money? What was it about that aspect of storytelling that pulled you?
Man, it was when I first had an opportunity to put a headset on. It was so surreal to me. I was like, I was in a when I first had the opportunity to put on VR goggles, I was in the NASCAR pit. And it was like, I watched NASCAR on TV, but to be actually in the pit where they pull up with the car, and it was like, whoa, what is this? And they were like, man, if you like it, go to this expo, the VR expo. And when I started trying other things, it just hit me with that spark where my imagination just opened up all over again. Like when you were young and you were like, man, I want to tell stories. It gave me that same essence, that spark of wonder, you know what I mean, and imagination all over again when I was, decided, like when I first saw the 5 Heartbeats, when I was like 14 or whatever it was, and his performances I was like, man, I want to do that. Whatever that made me feel like, I want to make movies. And that's what it did. And I said, if I can create experiences like this with the talents that I have, and this is where I want to go. And if I feel like this, and I can get other people to experience this, it'll unlock a whole new style of storyteller and creator. You know what I mean? That doesn't even know, like, because what I loved about it was there were no rules, right? Like we go to film school, right? And you learn this shot, you learn this, you learn all these rules based, and you get inspired by other people, which is great. But what I loved about VR was there was no rules. It was a blank canvas, right? So we're at the first time in history all over again where you might pick up a VR camera or learn Unity, Unreal, and create something that doesn't even exist yet, that somebody might use 10 years from now. You see what I'm saying? We're building on the language right now, and we're a part of that language for the first time in history. That grammar, that and building that industry, building that immersive economy. So I was like, we at the beginning of world building right now. I got to get in on this. You know what I mean? And I got to share this with the people who are going to do something with it beyond what I can do with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I have a sort of a tamed eye as a traditional 2D storyteller. So what I loved about it is I have to untrain a lot of the things that I learned. You know what I mean? Not necessarily untrained, but I had to like think outside of the box, right? Or what I consider now, think outside of the frame, right?
You had to expand your scope.
Yeah, so now I think outside of the frame. I think outside of that window, right? Like, look at all this real estate. What tools can I use to keep your attention, choreograph a scene? Those were the things that really, really inspired me to share it with other people and then be sort of an evangelist. I mean, I just love sharing it. And I've seen so many new developments come over the last 5 years being in it. It's phenomenal. And then look where we are now. I mean, all these new emerging technologies that you can use to storytell, and it goes beyond just VR now. You can tell a story on an AR app. You can tell a story with just sound. I mean, you can tell a story with just some kind of text messaging.
Yeah.
Like stories telling, there's no limit to it, and that's what opened me up to how I can create experiences across the board.
Now, and I love how you really, you know, dug into the storytelling aspect. Like, how important is storytelling now, particularly around the narrative of the Black community? Because there's so many through lines where we see it in the media, you know, mainstream media, we see it on social media, you know, the news, all these different outlets where stories are constantly being told. How have you sort of enter the space where I'm going to tell these types of stories? Because even when you were shooting in 2D, there was certain things like, you know, we were talking offline about the stories that you were getting paid to tell versus stories that you wanted to tell. Now you are literally creating these worlds beyond what you had been doing most of your career. How important is it to dig into the types of stories that you are actually passionate about in this uncharted territory?
Well, it's like a time capsule, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look back, you can sort of see our history through different lenses. But you can also see our narrative told through someone else's lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our core values at GRX Immersive Labs is everything starts with the narrative, everything. And that is the very first entry point of where I felt like we have to really understand that as we progress into an age where everything we do deals with technology, that narrative is going to come with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to live there, right? And that narrative is going to change into what they call algorithms, right? So we already see that happening. So as storytellers, no matter what you're doing, even if you're building an app or building a game or whatever, we have to make sure that that narrative is set from the beginning, you know? Because what I don't want to do is make 12 Years a Slave in VR. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Great storytelling, right? But we understand that there's various aspects of our narrative that had never been told. And typically our narrative, especially African Americans, has started in the curriculum at 16, 19.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So when you're taught that you were a slave versus you were enslaved, the narrative is being shaped and crafted by someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I can take you back pre-16, 19.
When we were doctors, lawyers, kings.
Oh my God, you know how powerful that is?
Yeah.
But now you're talking about waking up cell memory, right? And you're talking about tapping into your DNA, that deep narrative analysis, right? Of who you are and what you're destined for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I said it right here. What you're destined for, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need those stories to progress us into the future, right? So we'll have that forensic history of the next chapter of our narrative that we created. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we know that all of this is going to be living in the cloud, right? It's not going to be on a VHS. It's not going to be on a DVD. It's going to be living in the cloud. So if we're going to be creating avatars and characters, where a young brother named Chris Lafayette said, if we're going to extend reality, we need to bring reality with it. You see what I mean? And that means every aspect of our culture, every aspect of our narratives, and not let it be created as it was prior for us. You know what I mean?
Now, we are in, you know, it's no secret, we are in unprecedented times as it relates to where we are spending our time, right? Like a lot of us have to sit down, be at home. We can't go to certain places, can't do certain things. And then we're constantly consuming media that centers around the Black experience or the challenges of the Black experience. How has that influenced or inspired you to sort of think about the next stories that you want to tell? You know, how has it impacted you?
Again, it goes back to just inspiring people to take part in the narrative, right? Because you have so much media, and you have so much social media, and you have so much propaganda too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can be misconstrued, and people create narratives about you based on what they see. So if you're not getting behind creating that story and that narrative, you know, you'll get lost in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And a world will be built for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's just, it's raised the stakes and importance of just how much more we need to be at the forefront of creating and designing and world building and getting our messages out there, and building, you know, allies, you know, so we can go out there and create a world, man, that goes beyond where we've been, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like, what does that look like? And as creators, we have an opportunity to create that new world. I believe that, you know.
And how have you seen VR as an opportunity for, you know, young Black and brown filmmakers to sort of enter? Because I think that a lot of us, you know, have these passion projects that we want to explore, but sometimes things that are sort of uncharted territory can be incredibly intimidating. It's just like, oh, well, let me stick to what's already happened, where, you know, where the path, I can already see the path, you know, whether it's, oh, I'm going to do some independent, you know, music videos in my neighborhood, then I'm gonna go to film school. There's a journey and a path to it. But now with VR, like you said, it's very much like, you know, open for anybody. And so what would you say to young filmmakers who are looking to explore, discover the power and the impact and the potential of virtual reality work?
When I started, it was a lot more expensive, a lot more time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And the tools have moved so much faster now. And I think now it's adding an opportunity to have some transferable skills, right? Create some new opportunities. And I think it's not as hard. So, you know, there's free classes online now, right? At your fingertips. The tools are a lot more cost effective. You can go get a prototyping camera now for $100, you know, and if you're lucky, you might find something on OfferUp or Let Go. You know, there's been times where I went on there and just scoured for goodies, you know what I mean, that I've used to help other people get resources to go out and create, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I would say, you know, prototype, you know, experiment with, if you don't want to go outside your comfort zone, what I did was work from what your pre-existing passion, and then figure out how you can create ancillary experiences from that main project, right? Mm-hmm. The simplest way to put it is, you made a project about mental illness, right? Well, the 2D might be the story, but the VR might be what you experience inside that person's mind. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Build out an experience. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be taking you way out in a standalone experience, but build on to what you're already doing to make sure that you're staying in alignment with where you're already putting your time. You see what I mean? So there's ways to add on ancillary experiences to something you're already working on. Yeah. You know what I mean? It all fuels that initial safe space and project where you're putting your time, energy, and resources. You know, you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, or have you already found ways to build community in this new space?
100%. I think VR and immersive is based and built. It has to be built around community, right? And there's two ways you can look at it. Is people who want to learn about just how they can leverage technology, period, right? That often is just a great conversation just to bridge generational gaps, right? Mm-hmm. Just to see someone who may be, you know, 15, 16, taking out VR, AR experience and showing an elder who may not be as technically proficient how to use some of this stuff. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a great bridge builder, generational bridge builder, but then it also, it creates community around growing together. You know what I mean? And how you can leverage this stuff together, create together.
Mm-hmm.
And then the creative entrepreneurship aspect where you're creating a market for something. You see what I mean? You're going out to an event and saying, hey, I do this. I like to bring this to your event or your project or your community. And do you have, here's a budget that I have to participate and bring something new and refreshing to your experiences. That's pretty much what I did at ABFF. You know, the community was there and he said, hey man, we like what you're doing. We'll give you some funds to bring this into the community. And it was a whole new refreshing experience for that community, and it inspired other people. And some other people was like, wow, what is this? You know, so a lot of good opportunities for community building.
I see you have a beautiful family and you got kids running around in the back and all of that. What conversations are you having with them about two things? One, maintaining their innocence as children, but also encouraging them to imagine and explore different things, because there's so many different things in society that's telling them that you have to be a certain way, you have to fit into this box, you have to move like this. Particularly the Black community, the Black and brown community, we have been forced to assimilate to what society says is the right way, and you really always having to think outside the box, explore and expand on storytelling. How have you, sort of as a father, sort of maintain the innocence of a child, but also, help them or encourage their imagination and their passion for maybe wanting to follow in dad's footsteps, or maybe exploring their storytelling ability in their own way?
For me, it was about planting the seed that they were more than what they do, right?
Mm.
And letting them know. I always ask them, I say, who are you? And they say, I am a creator. And that just means you just manifest, you create, right? So that they will never get put in a box.
Mm.
You are a creator and you create. Whatever that is you want to create, you create it, right? You want to be an accountant, you create it. You want to be a doctor, you create it. That's what I just try to instill in them, because I have my own ideas of what I want them to be and do, right?
Right.
But I don't want to shape them like that, right? I just want them to know that you are a creator. And I tell them one other thing: do your best and let God do the rest. That's all I tell them. And I let them get their lumps, and I let them, because as parents, you want to wrap them up in a bow and give them this perfect life, right?
Right.
But as you can see, there are people who grew up like that, and when the bow unraveled, they jumping off a bridge.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And they got $20 million. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to fall. You know what I mean? So and encourage them to get back up. And I try to give them as much insight as I can about, entrepreneurship, so that they understand how to pursue their independence, right? But I also don't force them they might want to be entrepreneurs. You see what I'm saying? So I just try to instill in them, look, even if you don't want to start a business, learn to think like one. You see what I mean? And then let them just kind of go and just, and most importantly, just have integrity, just have integrity, and know that everybody's not going to play fair. You might be a good person, but everybody's not going to play fair with you. So just know that you got to have some grace. Hurt people. You see what I mean? And that's what I just try to give them a lens where they can see everything from a bird's eye before they go in and become reactionary. That's really the big thing that I learned, and I try to help them. But just to focus on creating and not be put in a box. That's pretty much it.
I
and keep family first, man. You know, keep your faith. It's faith and family.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Keeping that first for sure.
Thank you, brother, for that. I really, I appreciate that, because I think, as a dad, I try to listen to other parents and seeing how they are helping to raise their children. I think it takes a village, right? We learn from each other, because, I don't have it all figured out, and I'm sure you and your wife, y'all don't have it all figured out, but together we can work to help raise this next generation of
Funny, because you also have to remember your own programming, right?
Yeah.
The stuff you carry that you brought into that you carry in your baggage, right? So like my wife, one day I was trying to teach my son how to fight. She's like, he lives in the Valley, Alton. He did not grow up like you in the same community. He does not need to learn all that. He is not about to. So I'm thinking, he got to be ready, right? You're like,
right.
So I got to remember, like, I can't push off the things that I had to deal with as a young man growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And remember that I have a certain amount of programming that I got to still deal with, and I can't pre-shape him or pre-shape my daughter. You know what I mean? I got to let guys mold that. They going to lumps, across the head or whatever their journey might be.
Yeah.
I gotta. That's what I have to always just, not give them my own baggage or my own little things that I can't see could carry over. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
How many kids you got?
I got two. 15, a girl. My daughter's 15. My son's 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So man,
What are you doing? What are you doing with the? How are you doing with this question you asked me? I'm curious.
Well, for me, I'm at least with my daughter, I'm really trying to get her to understand, why the things that I say in the films that I'm watching and the stories that I read, I try to get her to understand why I'm actually doing it. I don't do it just because when a film comes on, I'm just like, oh, come on, let's go watch this. Let's watch this documentary. Let's go see this. Our T-shirts. I be buying her, Black Queen and Black Excellence, and I'm always trying to instill now that she is amazing. She is brilliant. She is beautiful. No matter what the world tells her, she needs to hear from me that she is better than what the world's telling her that she is, right? And I think that has been a challenge for me, because she'll ask me questions about, stories, or me. She's like, well, why did they make him look like that? Why did they make him look like a criminal? Why did they make her look like, why did they degrade her in that way? And so I have to sort of spoon feed, history in a way, because you don't want to strip them. You don't want them to jade them so much where they're just, hating, society, right? It's a slow process. And the things that she's learning in school, it literally just scratches the surface, right? It literally scratches the surface as it relates to Black history and how great we as a people are. And for my son, I'm always doing my best to try to instill in him the confidence and the ability to express himself. Because it took me until I was an adult to really feel like I could express myself in a way where I wasn't afraid, right? Like I would say something and it'd be like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. No, this is how I felt. This is what I'm thinking. And the stories that I've told and the stories that I want to tell are based upon my experiences. And I want him to be able to learn that much earlier. I didn't learn that until I was in my 20s. And, when I was about to finish college, I want him to learn that in elementary school, because who knows if I had been told that my feelings are valid, my stories are valid, where I would be today, And so I think that so I'm doing my best to turn my traumas into lessons for my children, and to say, I'm telling you this because no one told me. I'm showing you this. I'm bringing you to this place. Like my daughter, like all the events and the project, she was on set with me. You know, she was in the front row, you know, watching me do these things. So when she gets older, whether she goes into the path of storytelling or not, she's gonna know that this is normal. It's normal to want to be around beautiful Black and brown people. That's not it's not, you know, you know, some sort of anomaly, right? That there's a lot of smart, intelligent, powerful Black people, right? I want them to see that all the time, because every aspect in their life, whether it be school, whether it be on television, whether it be the stuff that they're consuming online, is telling them the opposite. And I want to be a part of that tribe of people with myself and then my family that promotes our greatness and every opportunity, every chance I get. And it, you know, like I said, I don't got the blueprint for it. I don't know, you know, if it's what I'm saying or what I'm doing is the perfect or the right thing, but it's the best that I could be in this season, you know. And as I evolve, hopefully they'll evolve with me and they'll understand that my intentions were good. And I think as parents, that's really the entry point, right? To have good intentions for your child, and not strip them of their innocence, but not make them naive to the realities of the cold, harsh world, you know? And that's a tough balance, brother. It's a tough balance.
But you're doing great, man, because you know, you telling them, it go back to that narrative, right? I tell my kids the most important story you ever tell is the story you tell yourself first. And that's the narrative, right? Starts with you and feeding them.
Yeah.
You feeding them that narrative and them understanding and learning how to feed themselves that narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of themselves. So that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Man, well, you know, this has been such a pleasure, you know, rocking with you, man. I'm so proud to know you. You've done so much for me, inspiring me and mentoring me throughout the years by me just watching you do what you do, man. And I really appreciate your work. I appreciate your creative gifts, and I'm looking forward to the next project you got coming out, because I know it's gonna be special.
I'm excited, brother. I'm you know, we gonna keep pushing, man. So you ready for some of this art and immersive media? Come on, man. Let's get it in.
Let's
You
get
know,
it in, man. Hey,
let's get Boston set up.
right. Before I go, I just want to let you know, man, I love you, brother. I see you. You matter. And I'm excited to see the next chapter, brother.
Oh, man. I appreciate that, man.
All right.
Love
You
you,
have a
brother.
good rest of your day, man.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
and